Most people did not notice when it started. There was no global announcement, no dramatic reveal, no single moment where everything suddenly changed. Instead, it happened quietly, in the background, inside the systems people use every single day. And that is exactly why it matters. Because the most powerful shifts in technology are not always the loudest ones. Sometimes they are the ones that blend in so well that you do not even realize they are reshaping everything around you. Right now, there is a new kind of AI model doing exactly that. It is not just answering questions. It is not just generating content. It is not just automating tasks. It is becoming the layer between you and the internet itself. And once you understand what that means, the way you see the internet will never be the same again. For years, the internet has worked in a relatively simple way. You search for something, you get a list of links, and then you decide where to go. Whether it was information, products, news, or entertainment, the structure remained consistent. Platforms competed for your attention, and you navigated through them. But now, that model is changing. Instead of sending you to the internet, AI is starting to bring the internet to you. And it is not doing it by showing more links. It is doing it by removing them. At first, that sounds like convenience. You ask a question, and instead of clicking through multiple websites, you get a direct answer. Faster, cleaner, more efficient. But here is where things start to shift. Because when an AI gives you a single answer, it is also making a decision. A decision about what information matters, what sources are relevant, what perspective to prioritize, and what to leave out. That decision used to be yours. Now, it is increasingly made for you. And that is a fundamental change. Because the internet is no longer just a network of information. It is becoming a curated experience, shaped by models that sit between you and everything else. At first, this seems harmless, even helpful. After all, no one enjoys digging through endless pages of search results. No one wants to waste time sorting through irrelevant content. AI simplifies that process. It filters noise, it delivers clarity. But clarity comes with trade-offs, because when information is filtered, it is also interpreted. And interpretation introduces bias. Not necessarily intentional bias, but structural bias, based on how the model was trained, what data it has seen, what patterns it has learned, and what objectives it is optimizing for. This means that two people asking the same question might receive similar answers, even if the full picture is more complex. And over time, this can shape how people understand the world, not through censorship, but through selection. Now take this idea and expand it beyond search. Think about content creation. AI models are not just helping people write anymore. They are generating articles, videos, scripts, summaries, and entire pieces of media at scale. This creates a new dynamic. Because the internet is no longer just filled with human-created content, it is increasingly filled with AI-generated content that is optimized, structured, designed to perform. And here is where it gets interesting. AI is not just creating content, it is also consuming it, learning from it, and then creating more content based on that, which means the internet is starting to become a feedback loop. AI generates content. That content becomes part of the data. New AI models learn from that data, and then generate even more content. And as this cycle continues, something subtle begins to happen. The line between original information and generated information starts to blur. Because when AI learns from AI-generated content, it is no longer just reflecting reality. It is reinforcing patterns, repeating structures, amplifying certain styles of thinking. And slowly, the diversity of information can begin to shrink, not because anything is being removed, but because certain types of content become dominant, and dominance shapes perception. Now, let us talk about something even more impactful: decision-making. AI models are not just influencing what people read, they are influencing what people do. From product recommendations to financial suggestions to career advice, AI is becoming a guide, a silent advisor that operates behind the scenes. And the more accurate it becomes, the more people trust it. But trust changes behavior. Because when people trust a system, they rely on it. They follow its suggestions. They delegate decisions. And over time, that delegation can become dependency. This is not necessarily a bad thing. In many cases, it improves efficiency. It reduces friction. It helps people make better choices. But it also shifts agency, because the decision is no longer entirely yours. It is influenced, guided, shaped by an algorithm. And when millions of people are influenced in similar ways, the effects scale, markets shift, trends emerge, opinions align, not because people are being controlled, but because they are being guided in similar directions. And this is where the real power of these AI models lies, not in what they do individually, but in how they influence systems collectively. Now consider businesses. For years, companies have optimized for search engines, keywords, rankings, visibility. But what happens when users stop clicking links? What happens when AI provides the answer directly? The entire structure of the internet economy begins to change. Traffic patterns shift. Websites receive fewer visitors. Content strategies evolve. Instead of writing for humans or search engines, businesses start writing for AI models. Because if the model chooses what information to present, then being included in that output becomes the new form of visibility. And that creates a new kind of competition, not for clicks, but for inclusion, for relevance within the model itself. This is a major shift. And it is happening quietly, without most people realizing it. Because from the user perspective, everything feels easier, faster, more streamlined. But behind that simplicity is a complex transformation, one that is redefining how information flows, how value is created, and how influence is distributed. Now here is something that makes this even more fascinating. These AI models are not static. They are constantly improving, learning from interactions, refining their responses, adapting to new data, which means the layer between you and the internet is not fixed. It is evolving. And as it evolves, so does the experience of the internet itself. What you see today might not be what you see tomorrow, not because the internet changed, but because the model interpreting it did. This introduces a level of fluidity that has never existed before. The internet becomes less like a library and more like a conversation. Dynamic, contextual, personalized, and personalization adds another layer. Because the model does not just provide information, it provides information tailored to you, your preferences, your behavior, your history. Two people might experience completely different versions of the same internet, not in terms of access, but in terms of presentation. And that raises an important question. If everyone is seeing a slightly different version of reality, what happens to shared understanding? Because the internet has always been a space where people could access the same information, debate it, discuss it, challenge it. But when information becomes personalized, that shared baseline can start to fragment, not dramatically, but gradually, all without a single central decision, just the result of optimization. Now, to be clear, this is not a dystopian scenario. It is not about AI taking over the internet. It is about AI reshaping how we interact with it. And like any powerful tool, it has both benefits and challenges. On one hand, it makes information more accessible. It reduces complexity. It saves time. On the other hand, it introduces new layers of influence, new forms of dependency, new questions about transparency and control. And those questions are still being explored. Because this shift is happening faster than most people realize, faster than regulations can adapt, faster than societal norms can adjust, which means we are in a transition phase, a moment where the old model of the internet still exists, but a new one is rapidly emerging. And the two are overlapping, interacting, evolving together. But eventually, the balance will shift. And when it does, the internet will not feel the same. Not because it is gone, but because it is being mediated, filtered, by systems that operate at a level most people never see. So the next time you search for something, or ask an AI a question, or receive a recommendation, think about what is happening behind the scenes. Think about the layers between you and the information. Think about the decisions being made, not just by you, but for you. Because that is where the real transformation is taking place. Quietly, consistently. Reshaping the way the internet works. And the most fascinating part, we are still at the beginning, which means the version of the internet you know today might just be the early version of something much bigger.